I'll build the statue outside the canton, says Mark Riley, and lots of other superlatives for Cardiff City this week. Welcome to our Bluebirds walk. This is episode 26 of our Cardiff City 20 minutes. We've got a new contract for Rhino. Should it be put on the table if it hasn't already? We're going to get these fans' views on that. We're going to talk about the things we learned from Derby County. The transfer window's closing this week. What desperately needs to happen, if anything? And we're choosing our worst ever defensive lineup. Welcome back, Jamie and James, to the chat, and thank you very much for joining us. We're reviewing the Derby County game, which was a definite 6-pointer. Jamie, did it feel like a 6-pointer with the tension?
Yeah, I think first half we were very sloppy. I think Derby were the better side. I think they were fighting for everything, made it very scrappy. Second half, goals changed games, I think. We should have been 3-4-0 up. And obviously when you only don't take your chance to go 3-0 up, you run that risk. 2-0 is a precarious scoreline, isn't it? And then obviously they score a goal. So yeah, massive game. I think there was a lot of relief around the stadium to finally get that final whistle in the 98th minute. So yeah, huge 6-pointer, huge win against a contender near the bottom of this.
So if we have a look at the starting lineup, James, I mean, it's great you have two captains in there, which I thought was interesting. Lots of people are saying on Twitter that Willock is now the weakest point of this 11. Is that? Do you agree with that?
No, I sort of disagree with that. Just because his performance at Millwall in the week was more than enough to show that he is capable of contributing towards the team. And might not always be perfect, but he always gives it a go. And yeah, he obviously contributes towards the team with the goal in the week as well.
Okay. Mike says Rhino is a revelation at right back. Ink Vendetta says, get this man a new contract. He's been a godsend since going to right back and showing his worth. Another top performance, Rhino. I don't think we would have been saying this a while back, but I'm reinvigorated, Jamie.
Yeah, I think the press conference after the game, he discussed about obviously Errol Bullitt and this time last year how he was being loaned to Rotherham and so on and so forth. I think he's our silent sort of player. He just he's got this demeanor where he just lets his work do the talking. And to be honest, I think this season since he came in, we had to put him there. There's no other excuse. We had no other right back when NG was there. I think he just didn't give up, and that's what I like about him. I think a few times yesterday, Derby did try and get down his right hand side, but his recovery runs were phenomenal. He's just brilliant, and again, he's a versatile player. And yeah, I think he is probably my most improved player of the season if I'm going to label someone like that. So he's definitely deserving of some sort of contract, I think.
Yeah, a sign of good coaching, is it then, Jamie? Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, recently we've got Richard Shaw in, which I think has massively helped with the likes of Omar Rizza, Darren Persby, and then I think having multiple people as opposed to what we've had in the past, which is almost like a possible cost-cutting exercise where we've probably only got limited resource in the coaching department, has definitely helped. But again, as a defender, you just want to see people do the basics, blocking, tackling, getting stuck in, and he certainly ticks all those boxes.
Okay. There's lots of positives to talk about from the game, which we'll come on to in a bit more in a second. James, I want to talk about Maité, though. Help us out with this one. Special Ton says it was a fantastic result, but Maité again not celebrating with the boys and acknowledging the crowd. He would rather talk to his mate Ubu and walk straight down the tunnel again. And then there's one here saying you can't defend him. John says playing with Willock and Maité is like playing with 9 or 10 men. We need to ship them out and get players in who care. Willock, first half, was awful again. No surprise we score within minutes of him going off. Get rid of the Deadwood. It's a good win, but it should have been easier. Right, let's unpick all of this then. First of all, this bit about Maité and not looking bothered and acknowledging the crowd. I mean, this relationship between him and Cardiff fans seems to me to be at an all-time low. What's going on?
Yeah, so I mean, he's being criticised with his performances, and rightfully so. If your performances aren't great, then criticism is fair enough. But I think some fans are taking it a bit too far, and sort of, I've seen that he put out earlier that he's been receiving abuse, and in my opinion, I think it is a bit wrong. To be fair, like I say, I'm all for criticism if the player's playing bad or something. Fair enough, but don't single him out and and say that and abuse him, because end of the day, he's still a Cardiff City player. And to be honest, with him sort of walking straight down the tunnel, I can't really blame him at the moment, because if you're getting that amount of abuse from fans, I wouldn't want to walk around not knowing, sort of like you said earlier, who's for you and who's against you.
It's something like to go on the back of that. Obviously, he'd celebrated, didn't he, the goal he'd scored at Coventry, and that caused division when he'd put his finger to his mouth to almost the shushing emotion of it. Again, it's spot on what James is saying. I think we all live and breathe the club. We want the best for the club. Naturally, if players aren't performing to a standard that we either feel should be, adhered to as a club, then they are going to get criticism. But things like going into their direct messages and stuff like that, I think there is a line. And like we said, social media can be a good tool nowadays, but it also can have its, it's sort of negatives. I mean, before the game with my daughter and many other young fans are waiting to see the players, he just kind of goes in, waves, and sort of doesn't stop. And obviously that's led to this statement that he put out on his Twitter this afternoon, saying about what he feels is his side of the thing. And Omar Rizza has sort of jumped on the back of that and commended him as his attitude, and saying that he's such a good guy. So hopefully there's learnings from it. And we all want the best for our players. We don't want them to play poorly. If he goes and scores a hat-trick next week against Leeds, I'm sure we'll all be celebrating at Ellen Road. But it's I suppose it's the dark side of football and social media.
Okay, well said, everyone. And yeah, anyone giving any player abuse for any reason needs to have a word of themselves, don't they? Thanks, fellas. Okay, let's focus on the positives then. Then Shiny says, unbeaten in 2025. Not to be sniffed at. I'd say 9 more points and we'll be safe. I think we might need a little bit more than that. Hopefully, although we get more. I mean, this is eight unbeaten now, James, in all competitions. I mean, I think that might come to a crash again this weekend at Leeds. No disrespect, but what do you put that down to?
I just think is the players are wanting to work hard for the manager. Obviously, we touched on it here that the players do like playing for him, and I think that goes a long way in sort of when players are performing. So if you can sort of get that good sort of attitude and feeling within the sort of group and the squad, then it can contribute towards sort of on the pitch, and that's why I think we've sort of been seeing over the last few games, sort of a working hard mentality for Omar Rizza.
Jamie, do you agree?
Yeah, completely agree. I think we've had outside noise, which I think has affected the players, whether that was with Rizza's future or things going wrong around the club. We've all said we need to pull together, and I think there's a team there of not just the 11 on the pitch. There are substitutes, there's young players who are around the fringe that have bought into Omar Rizza's way and philosophy. And again, I allude to Richard Shaw. I think since Richard Shaw's come in, we've definitely seen an improvement in sort of structure and shape, especially defensively. But I think we're showing different sides of ourselves. I think maybe Omar is learning now. At the start, I think he was set in his ways. But now I think we're going a bit more direct at times instead of passing out from the back. So it's a good mix, and it's never to be sniffed at. 8 unbeaten, like you said, Ellen Road. You don't want to call it a free hit, but anything up there is a bonus. But if you win your games in and around you, against sides in and around you, it goes a long way, doesn't it?
Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much, both of you, for that one. If you haven't come across the channel before, do drop us a subscribe. It is new, but like any new channel has to start somewhere. So we massively appreciate your support. 26 weeks is still new, I think. Right. Transfer window closes this week. Oh, goodness. Shall we have a quick look at what it's looking like for Cardiff? James, realistically, did you expect a bit more to have been done by now than it has?
Not really. Obviously, with January is always the most difficult window, and sort of with ourselves, we've always sort of left it towards the last week normally. So, yeah, I don't really expect much movement with the incomings. Maybe sort of two more possibly. And then without goings, I could probably see someone like Tete going out on loan and maybe like sort of one or two youngsters, but that's about it really.
Jamie, any rumours hitting the terraces this weekend?
There was one that came out after the game yesterday. Ajax holding midfielder Sivert Mansverk, I think, like not very good at things. You know, he looks like a sort of profile of player that we were looking at. You know, we were rumoured to be after the Peterborough centre midfielder, but I think with them being in the last 6 months, Peterborough in their right mind have bumped up the price a little bit. So we're looking at the low market. So he's someone that's the most recent. I still think we need a winger. I still think, like you said about the Willock situation and things, not necessarily on Willock, you know, but it's someone different, a bit more fast, a bit more speed in the team. I think we'll do it. And as for outgoings, like James has said, you know, it's probably just the camp bodies, so to say, the squad players, the fringe players, the youngsters like Mike Raindorf and players like that that'll leave. But yeah, I don't expect much movement, to be honest. It's always hard, isn't it, in January? Prices are always raised for whatever reason, desperation or what have you.
Okay, let us know in the comments below what you think should happen. Tan's got a couple more days this week to get this squad perfect. Thanks very much for that one. Let's finish this off then. Of course, the last 3 weeks, if you've not been tuning in, we've been picking up worst ever Cardiff City 11 in the Championship era. Let's have a quick look at what we've got so far. So, fellas, we have Rhino up in goal. We have Gary Maité and Andreas Cornelius up front, which was selected, of course, last week. This week, we're selecting the worst ever back line. So, has anyone got a left back and a right back for us to stick in this worst team?
I've got a left back.
Left back, let's have it.
Go on. He was from Swindon, I believe. Miguel Dominguez. Had all the speed, but he just didn't do a lot, you know, for us. And I think he left after a year and a bit. But yeah, not for the one to try him, but I don't think he was particularly everyone's cup of tea.
Right, we'll stick him in. Anyone got a right back?
No, I got a perfect centre back pairing now for you.
Oh, go on then, let's hear it.
I'm going to go for Curtis Nelson. Absolutely awful when I'd seen him play, and for more than one reason, Jack Simpson.
Yeah, Jack Simpson was mine. Right back, I've got Vontae Daly Campbell, just because he came in with all the pedigree from Leicester, and to be honest, he looked more like a pedigree chum. He didn't look fit, didn't look like any, you know, he's interested. Yeah, and I think Bristol fans will probably mention it was Filip Benkovic. Came in on loan from Leicester, played from is it half a game? Was it James up in Wickham away during the COVID season, and we didn't see him play. And to be honest, you know, I can see why he was. Yeah, he was. I think he was all the hype, but no real execution.
Brilliant. Okay. So this team is looking really bad, isn't it? We've got one little bit to do next week, which is the midfield, and then we'll choose our captain and our manager, and we'll be done with. Thank you very much for that. Drop us in the comments below any other defenders that we've missed that need sticking and considering. We'll give them a shout out next week. Join us next week when we do the midfielders, and of course we'll review Cardiff's trip to Leeds United, which is always a spicy one. So enjoy that one. Any chance you give them, James, at all?
Well, his Leeds away is always going to be difficult, but you never know. They've not. I don't know even if they've lost at home this season. To be honest,
They lost to Burnley. That's the only one they've lost.
But you know they're on a good run of form, so every good run of form has to come to an end at some point. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Good luck, both of you. Enjoy your trip if you're heading that way. Stay safe, and we'll see you in 7 days' time to review it all. Thanks for joining us.